It has been an eventful year for Dagang NeXchange. In one swoop, this IT company diversified into semiconductor manufacturing with its purchase of loss-making Cetera Malaysia and oil and gas in Pink Petroleum. But does DNeX run the risk of losing its focus? We talked to Group MD and Corporate Malaysia veteran Tan Sri Syed Zainal Abidin Syed Mohamed Tahir about DNex's plans for its three businesses, geopolitical challenges, and which industry it is really banking on. I think if you're an investor, the DNeX of today looks very different than even what it was, let's say, even 3 years ago, right?
Okay.
So, investors like to put things under umbrellas, industrial, glove maker, or things like that. So, if I were to ask you, what are the main focuses of DNeX now going forward? What business is DNeX in?
I think you're right. I mean, we've come a long way to how the company was several years ago when I came in roughly about 16 months ago. I mean, the focus then was very much, on the IT space and operating the trade, facilitation platform, the national single window.
Yeah.
So I think, it was a very deliberate attempt to diversify the portfolio earnings of the company. And because we know, if you're just going to focus on one particular sector, perhaps it's not going to create value to the shareholder. So we have then decided, at that point in time to bid for Cetera in the technology space. And then today, we've done quite well. And of course, we also had a small interest in Pink Petroleum.
Correct.
30% equity. So we then decided to pursue to acquire the remaining 60% to be 90% long. So the DNeX of today is quite diversified.
Yes.
And I think we are on very interesting industry sectors. So today, if I, now that we've gone through this stage, and acquired this portfolio of the asset, I think primary focus for me in the company is to what we call sweat the asset.
Cetera has a very long and checkered kind of history that you go there every week. You are there Monday and Tuesday, correct?
That's right.
You're there Monday and Tuesday on the ground because, as we were saying, you're a factory man, right? You get your hands dirty, so to speak. So you say you can't run this kind of business remotely. So tell me, in the time that you've actually been there, what did you do to kind of turn it around? Was it a complete house clean or a motivation of staff? I mean, there has to be something.
Everybody asked me the question, what's the magic? It's really, it's no magic formula, Nadia. I think there are a few things that we did. I think credit must be given to the previous shareholder in investing in such a state of the art. I think it was the right decision today. If you look at the last 20 years, it was the right thing to do. But perhaps it was not, operated in a very efficient way. So there's a few things that we did. Number one, we, create clarity and focus in the organization. So we look at the overall business plan, and really share the aspiration of the company with the entire 1,500 people, employees. I think it's very important if you want to do a turnaround plan to get everybody to be aligned and to be focused what you want to do. So we put clarity and purpose, in terms of market, in terms of technology, and in terms of what you want to do in terms of the efficiency. So that's number one. Number two, when you run a factory, you really have to look at what is the pain point. So the pain point in the past was not having access to capital, in terms of to remove the aging asset that they have and to invest in to remove the bottlenecks.
Yeah,
so when we
because
came in,
it's a huge lump investment for.
Yeah, they have not been investing in big, amount over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I suppose when you are in a divestment mode, you don't invest in the company. So one of the things that we commit, we make access to capital to the company. So we invested about the first stage about 200 million ringgit just to remove the bottleneck. And today we are seeing the impact of removing the bottlenecks. The third thing that I think is very important, as you can appreciate in any transformation, is really to focus on people. We have 1,500 people there, so when you are in a state of flux, there's no motivation is very low. So that's why I spend a lot of time, having town hall, engaging people both at senior management and going underground and listen to the people. So we have done many things. We've improved their benefits. We've given them increments they have not received for the last 3 years. Give them some, token of ex gratia, and improve the overall medical benefits as an organization. So today, the 1,500 people now have confidence that the new shareholders are really serious in turning around the company. So when you have a workforce who is very motivated, and you can already imagine what will be the consequence of the output. So things are getting better. People are more efficient, people are spending time, people are not very particular anymore. So that's why today, after 7 months in the company, we can see in every aspect, quality efficiency is very high, cost of quality has gone down, and customer delivery has also improved.
You mentioned that semicon, now of course with everything that's going on, pandemic, unlocked technology, it is booming and the bottlenecks are there. So when it releases, it's going to be huge, but it's also cyclical. So what's your long-term plan for Cetera?
That's a very good question, Nadia. I mean, today we are operating using our core technologies, CMOS, PV, and BCD and so on. And the demand is still very high. But as you rightly said, we're not sure whether the demand will continue to be sustained. So we have several choices that we have to make. I mean, the first option is continue on this current technology, but then you put the organization at risk. Now, to mitigate the risk, this is where we are having our long-term customers. We want to sign
the 80%,
80% of our capacity to have long-term agreement, so that at least the next 4 to 5 years of horizon, we are secure, so to speak. But what we want also to do is to then improve and invest in the emerging technologies. This is a new technology that's coming, talking about silicon photonics, MEMS, that is used in 5G, Internet of Things, machine learning, life science, and autonomous vehicle, for example. I mean, this is the next growth for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yes, for sure.
Today, we don't have that technology yet, but we are now working with customers and partners to develop and to qualify ourselves to be able to produce this technology. That contribution of the new technology today only contributes about 1% of our revenue.
Yeah, okay.
But
fair.
in the long term, as the core technology, becomes stagnant, is the new emerging technology that we believe that can contribute to the future growth of Cetera.
Yeah, the future building blocks, so to the
Correct.
future fab.
Yeah,
so
but
to
that's
speak.
not going to happen overnight. So we need to invest in equipment, we need to invest in R&D, and we also need to invest in people. Our hope and our aspiration in the next 5 years, that emerging technology, even though today is contributing about 1 to 2%, will contribute 40% of the revenue.
Of course, the other one is pink petroleum.
Energy,
That's oil and gas, right? And oil prices are now on the way up because of what happened, the current conflict. It's driving all of it up. So what are your plans for that part of the business?
Sure.
Because analysts seem to think it's a cash cow.
There's some truth in it. I mean, today we have the Anasuria asset.
Yes.
It is a very stable asset. We are the low-cost operator. We operate about $20 to $20 per barrel operating cost. And we are producing net to us is about 2,000 barrels per day volume. At $20 or $23 operating cost, when the price of oil is about 130 at the peak the other day, obviously it's going to generate a lot of revenue for us.
Yes.
So we need to be focused on Anasuria to make sure that we improve efficiency and get better volume. So there's a lot of projects that we are planning this year to debottleneck Anasuria. Similarly, what we're doing at Cetera, we are also debottlenecking. So we hope by debottlenecking, the output can improve by about 10%. So as long as the price stays, about to me $90 to $100, I think the benefits will be given to DNeX. But we also know that that in the oil and gas industry upstream, we need to continue to invest. So we have this the Abidin field that we have the reserve are proven based on our study. There's about potential about 5,000 to 6,000 barrels a day, almost double or triple what we have today. But we need to then go through several stages of getting the authorities' approval and to develop. So that first oil we anticipate should be maybe by 2024.
Let's talk about where it all started, which is the national single, the NSW. It ends in 2025. You've had an extension on it. But now that you have other business segments, will that take the focus of DNeX? Because as nimble as you are, Tatri, I think you still have to need some focus. You can't be everywhere at once. I mean, let's be honest with that.
Yeah.
But now you have other business segments. Is NSW just nice to have? Because it is your baseline, it's your consistent business, right? Yeah. But will you be aiming to extend it beyond 2025?
Under this contract, what we're trying to do today, just like what we do to Ping and to Cetera, we want to enrich the value of the platform. Yeah. Because we have a lot of expertise, we are now participating in international bids to participate in the development of national single window in developing countries. We are now participating in bids in Bangladesh and Maldives and Sri Lanka. We hope maybe one of them will crystallize, and then we'll have a different revenue source. Of course, to do that, we are working with partners in those countries to create another ecosystem in that country. That's number two. Number three, we also now looking in terms of our consultancy to leverage our as you know with IAC, we're also doing a lot of consultant work for the government of Malaysia. So when we look at the digital plan that the Malaysian government has launched like last year, there are a lot of opportunities out there on the table in terms of the whether we're talking about cloud computing, whether we're looking about data analytics, but that's a capability that we want to develop in-house. So to answer your question, we will continue to invest, but we're going to leverage our core expertise and work together with partners. And we are working with global partners like Microsoft, SAP, Hewlett-Packard, and and the likes of Accenture to provide better services to others and reduce our dependency on the government to go on the private sector. On the long term, I think, to be honest, Nadia, we like you said, we also now reassessing what should be the focus of DNeX in the future.
Which is back to my original question.
People wondering which sector are we in?
Yeah, exactly.
We seem to be in many sectors, but that's the question that we have to ask ourselves. So my focus, at least for this year, is to improve the efficiency of the current asset. But we are revisiting our strategy in the next 5 years, and to ask the hard questions. Are we going to continue to be involved in 3 sectors, or are we going to be focused on one?
I think that, and you still don't have that answer yet.
Well, I have my own idea where we want to go, but but there are many stakeholders that we have to engage. We have to look at the return to the shareholders, but this will be presented to the board, and if the mandate is given, then we'll share with all our stakeholders before we make a decision. But if we have X amount of capital, we need to then decide where do you allocate your capital with.
Now, with oil prices being so high and your cost at Ping being so low, as a shareholder, are you going to give it back as dividend? That's one thing I was curious about. Because I have a very weird feeling that at your AGM, that is what they're going to say to you.
Sure. You don't want to be hasty in making a dividend policy, not understanding what's going to happen in the next 5 years. So now that we have a scan of where we are and we can afford and assure a sustainable income, then I think the time has come for us to give a clear dividend policy to our shareholders. So that's been crafted today. We are developing it. We'll go to the board, and maybe at the next AGM we'll be able to then present to the shareholders a very clear dividend policy outlook, so that people know what's the return for them.